The soothing beat boops brought to you by Tezos Comment. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. I do appreciate you working with me as I figure out my problems. How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to Tuesday Tezday. We're kicking off the first show of 2026. This week is a community call. The focus tonight is the room. We'll start with a few headlines and updates and then open up things for everyone or anyone to jump on in if you want. Share what you're working on or shoot, just hang out and listen. If you've been coming to these for a while, you know the flow. If this is your first one, this is an easy place to start. We'll start with a few headlines and things we've been tracking, and then we'll open the room. If something we mention connects to what you're working on, thinking about, or watching, that's usually where people feel free to jump in. So before we get into that, let's catch up on a few things that happened over break. First up, Yoshi published a piece that shifts the conversation away from theory and into action. It's called TZATL, and instead of talking about why in-person presence matters, it lays out how he plans to build it, starting in Atlanta. The article isn't an announcement or an event promo. It's framed as a commitment. Atlanta as a hub, with surrounding cities like Athens acting as smaller orbits for workshops, art shows, and builder meetups. Not a one-off moment, but something repeatable and grounded. What stands out is the mindset. Rather than asking who should do this, the article is about doing it by example, showing up, documenting it, and letting the community shape what grows from there. This piece connects closely to the recent conversations around physical presence and culture. It's part plan.
I'm not sure if it is you, but you're lagging. Actually, your voice is sped up. Probably you're lagging with the connection.
Okay, give me a sec. I'll be right back.
Yeah, I'm hearing like the robot voice.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, no worries. Hey, welcome up, Kevin, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, we will do a proper welcome once Blanks finishes with the news and everything and the intro. But yeah, the room is already filling up. So great to see, guys. And yeah, as Blanks mentioned at the beginning, it will be community call, the first of the year for Tuesday Tezday. So feel free to request to jump up and, just chill with us, chat, talk. Let me send another invite to Blanks real quick.
Is this any better?
It is much better. Yeah, good.
All right. Well, I do apologize. Sometimes I have this figured out, and other days I'm fighting it. All right. Well, if you want to check out that article by Yoshi, definitely check out the full thing over at news.tezoscommons.org. And it's worth a read if you're interested in where Tezos community activity might expand next and how that expansion actually starts. Next up, Yoshi closed out the year with a special New Year's article. This one breaks away from the usual format on purpose. Instead of a rotating spotlight pulled from hashtag nominations, it focuses on a handful of works that were gifted to him over the holidays. The article isn't framed as a best of list or a sales showcase. It's more of a reflective pause, a look at how artists tend to show up when timelines slow down and expectations drop. The pieces shared here lean into mood, ritual, and intention rather than promotion. What's worth noting is that this isn't a new direction for Article of the Month. It's a one-time exception. The nomination process stays the same going into the new year. This edition exists as a thank you and a quiet way to close the chapter on 2025. If you've been following the article series throughout the year, this one reads like a personal epilogue rather than a recap. It's less about discovery and more about appreciation. That full piece is live over at news.tezoscommons.org, and it's a fitting way to end the year before the next round of spotlights begins. Next up, a new spotlight piece looks at what real-world presence actually does for Tezos. In Tezos on Tour, Orbit the Art World, the focus isn't on one event or one city. It's on a pattern that became clear during Miami Art Week and Art Basel. Visibility compounds when it's human, consistent, and patient. Rather than framing other chains as competitors, the article argues for an orbital approach. Stay close enough to engage, far enough to keep Tezos' identity intact, show up at cultural moments, support artists where they already are, and let trust build through shared experience instead of technical debate. Residencies, satellite gatherings, and small cross-chain interactions come up as more effective than big branded stages. Not because they're louder, but because they give relationships time to form. This one reads more like a strategic reflection than a recap. It's about how Tezos can stay visible in the art world without chasing attention or losing what makes it feel like home to artists. The full article is live over on spotlight.tezos.com. If you're trying to keep up with everything happening on Tezos, the baking sheet makes it easy. It's a short weekly email that covers the biggest project updates and community moves. No filler, just what's worth knowing. You can sign up at bakingsheet.tezoscommons.org. And a quick heads up about the Tezos Community Rewards Program. Nominations for this month are open, and here's how to make them count. You've got two options. For option number one, go to tezoscommons.org/rewards and fill out the short form. Option two, post directly on social media using hashtag TezosCRP. That's the tag we track. Just CRP won't work. If you're tagging someone's post, that's all you need to do. But if you're making your own post, like a list of names, be sure to add a quick note about what each person did. That context helps us properly review each nomination. So again, use the form or tag hashtag TezosCRP with a reason. All right, well, let's open up the room. If you've got something you want to share, a question or a thread you want to pull on, feel free to come up, except for if your name's Kevin, because you're already here. What's up, buddy?
Hello, how are you?
Super fantastic. I'll
Hey,
get better. How
hey.
are you, my man?
Happy New Year, Kevin.
Happy New Year. What'd y'all do?
Happy New Year. I made
Some
some
fun
bread.
things.
I baked bread in the
I
oven.
mean, yeah, mostly family time, you know. It was nice.
Yeah, me too.
What about you?
I went on a family trip. I think for New Year's, we were touring a pineapple farm. um, which was fun. And yeah, interesting process.
Did
how
you
that
learn?
works.
Well,
But
tell us some one-off facts that you just were blown away about pineapple farming.
it sounds like apple farming, doesn't it? Well, it was the it takes a lot of water, a tremendous amount of water to make a pineapple, and it takes about a year and a half to 2 years to get it to mature a pineapple. Isn't that crazy? It takes
That is
forever.
kind of wild.
It's like an elephant. It's like gestating an elephant.
So, like, does the tree itself, like, is the pineapple a tree? Like, how does it work? Like, what are they
No, it's a
harvesting? What is a
vine.
pineapple?
It's like a vine. Pineapple's a fruit. You eat it. Um, and yes, very
What's the difference
sweet.
between a fruit and a vegetable?
Fruit has seeds. Mm. Well, that's the way I
So,
always
is
heard it.
corn a fruit then?
No, it's a grain. Don't you know about the food pyramid?
I know nothing about horticulture.
You didn't you go to school as a child where they gave you
Yeah.
that food pyramid that was concocted by all the conglomerates of the 1950s that,
So I'll
and
be
then
honest with you, man. The food pyramid has changed in the time that I've seen it in its existence. It has changed, and it has not been the same. At one point, meats were kind of important. Now I don't know where they sit on it. But anyway, it's changed.
South Park did that thing where they were like, if you just reverse the pyramid order, like in terms of how many portions of a thing you're supposed to have, sans the sweets and desserts part, which for some reason, I mean, it shouldn't even exist on the pyramid, but that goes to show it's like somebody paid money to say, hey, you can't cut us out of the food pyramid. We're Hershey's and Mars and Nestle. It's like, oh yeah, well, we'll put you on the top there. All right, great. But anyway, if you get rid of that part and you reverse the pyramid, then it makes sense. Like you'd have more proteins and vegetables and whatever, and you're not having 3 to 5 portions of grain or whatever it says. Like the most massive like what the fuck? We're not supposed to be eating that much grain, that much bread. That's insane. Why would we be eating that? Why is that supposed to be the staple of what we eat? No, you're putting protein as the as like a minimal. What the hell are you doing? But that's how we were taught because that's what supports the food economy in the way
It's
that.
easier to tax grain than it is to tax meat, Kevin. I mean, we can get into this if you want, but it's way easier to
Ugh.
like. I mean, that's sadly. I mean, that's unfortunate if you look
Anyway,
in the history of lots of civilizations, like even Egypt, China, talking about
well,
granaries.
speaking of
Anyway,
Apple Farm, so Apple Farm's over, yeah, and
no, no, no,
so
no. Apple Farm
that's
exists. It's still there.
well
The
as a
season is over.
subsidized program.
The
Well, yeah, but
subsidized
they're
farm.
not. Yeah, but from what I understand, they're
You
not
can
going
still
forward with it.
farm over there. I believe Sogny's still around over there, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
I think it
there's
was just
residual.
Sogni. I don't know if they removed that as well. It was just Sogni, or
Right,
they.
but there is still something going on there. Like that's my point.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not
Well,
gone
in
gone.
the sense of like, it's not like they're not going to be. There's no season three. So, uh, which I think is, and from what I understand, coupled with that is that, like, obviously there's an important need for liquidity, but that it's going to get, and this is something I'm a fan of, if this is the direction we're going, is that it's more case by case, and it's like, you can make a case like, why does something need liquidity? What does the depth achieve? And being able to qualify that. And I hope it's done in like a very public, decentralized way, as opposed to the pattern of just like, get what can get the most liquidity or what kinds of things can bring that liquidity number up, as much as possible, and where retention is, well, it's not. I think by season two there was a stronger focus on how do we retain, but like definitely I think it should be utility focused, and like what are we actually trying to bring about, as opposed to like, here's a thing, let's bring depth to it. So yeah, I'll be publishing probably today on Agora what our plan is for, uh, and what it's important in and of itself, but also I hope for it to be a pilot program of that can be replicated by other assets in the ecosystem, and that would be, for, well, we finished like all the contracts for bridging USD Tez, and ETH Tez and BTC Tez, but the focus for this pilot program is USD Tez, not just over to Etherlink, but from Etherlink to Base. And there's a specific reason for that, in that, bringing it to, we created an aerodrome pool for it. And that's important because there's this relationship that Coinbase has with Aerodrome where they list assets that have, pools on Aerodrome on Coinbase proper. So what that means is that we've used this method to enable people to buy USD Tez on Coinbase, like as a listed asset, like they would buy anything else, and doing it in a manner that is decentralized, non-custodial, no listing fees, aligned with the Tezos ethos, and implicitly and recursively improves credit in the underlying Tezos economy from which it is bridged. So it maintains that origin point on the layer one, and in its path to where that purchasing point is, there's this whole trail of an economy that it leaves for arbitrageurs, for traders, for the platforms, not just like on base, but on the neighboring sort of depots that are connected to it. So the Etherlink platforms would benefit from it, and the Layer 1 and Tezlink platforms. So there's that. Um, but yeah,
That
the
sounds
whole
really cool. From a real
yeah.
like nerdy perspective, I'm sorry because like you dropped a lot of jargon in there, and for like an average person like
Well, it's
me, like
recorded.
that's fair.
Oh,
I mean,
you're not
can you break it
average.
down? Like, I
You're
mean,
way
can you give
beyond
us like,
average.
say I'm 9 years old? Can you break it down like I'm 9? You don't even have to explain it like I'm 5.
Yeah. So it makes it so you can buy USD Tez on Coinbase, and in a way that enriches like many different layers and people and platforms in the Tezos economy
That
and
makes so much more
decentralized.
sense to me. See, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
The last part is much more relatable. Like when you give us concrete examples, like we do
Yeah.
in Tezos constantly, it's so unrelatable.
That's why I haven't published it yet. Like I was thinking about last night, and I'm like, you know what? I should probably start this thing with like a little summary that's just basic, and then yeah. It's why you write your intros last. That's what I was always
Really, I
thought.
agree
Write
with
your
that.
intros
He's not
last.
wrong. He's
Yeah.
correct.
Yes.
Because you might be introducing something that you never talk about if you write it first.
Yes. We are also launching the first Teslink Dex soon. So we have that, working through it on the Teslink ShadowNet that's going on. Um, but also we launched, well, technically we did launch the first, well, on the L1, the first TezX Dex. Like we've had different types of exchange modules within TezX before, but we never actually launched our own Dex to have
Right.
our own TVL. So we did the first of those. But now I didn't announce it yet because we have to still implement the UI adjustment to include it. Also, at the same time, we're deploying
We
a whole
are
analytics
we gonna
suite
have to
for
just?
liquidity
You're
making.
gonna have you
Hmm?
back to do a show. I think, Kevin. I think we're gonna have to do like a Kevin
Yeah.
show, if that's
Yeah.
possible.
But yeah, no, I mean, well, more broadly, the Teslink, I believe like the real standard that we're going to show off in this ecosystem, 2026 is going to be a really exciting year because of Teslink. Like it'll be defined by
How
Teslink.
has that
Teslink will be
been? You
everything.
said you've been working with the GhostNet. Like, how has that all been? Has it been
ShadowNet,
smooth? Oh,
no more
ShadowNet.
ghost
Sorry.
nets.
Oh yeah, GhostNet's the other one. Sorry, I gotta get them straight.
Yeah, the ghost becomes a shadow before it gains corporeal. I don't know, but to keep changing names. But yeah, so it's it's early. So at the same time you're building, you're also debugging, and that's kind of the point. So, but I think I think people should know the strategy collectively and expressly for Teslink that's been going on has been definitely something I've been advocating for. I hope some of that influence came through, but it's not to represent it as like a layer, a place that like you come from the L1 over to there. But no, no, no. This thing comes to you, and it's more of like an expansion of the L1. So you do what you've been doing, and your Tezos experience will simply enhance. Um, yeah. Which is why I was in favor, though it's not the biggest deal in the world, of like maybe we shouldn't even call it Teslink. It should just be like Tezos S or Tezos XL
Super
or something like
Tezos.
that. Yeah.
Tezos
Uh,
Plus.
I mean, yeah, yeah. That was one of I gave like a list of suggestions. I wrote an internal memo, but nobody cared. Um,
The
nobody cares
Tezos
about most things I
Lightning
say.
Network.
Um, well, I mean, Tezos X could have been in. I mean, Tezos X is obviously the name of the overall roadmap that includes a whole bunch of stuff, and not even just these
What if
runtimes.
we
But
just
it would have been a
what if we
cool name.
prefaced all these
If,
with code name?
hmm, well, then
What you
Code
got in
name
mind?
Teslink. You know, like, and that's just how we call it. Like, this is Project Teslink. It's not Tezos X. It's code name Teslink in Tezos. I don't know. Anyway, sorry.
Well, I think that's actually going. There's some truth to eventually, because Arthur was talking about how like there's going to be this fan out, fan in approach. So eventually, these brands would be reconsolidated under the Tezos umbrella. And like, but it's still, that I wonder,
Let's just
like,
go
well, we could do it
full
with
Solid
Teslink.
Snake, Metal Gear.
At
We'll
least
just
it's a,
buy into like Project Teslink, and everything will be like,
the
we'll do the whole,
I mean, Justice, the JavaScript one, that's the only one where I think maybe it makes sense to have an unbundled kind of brand, because you do want to really appeal to that community, and it's not really about like you know like it would start from there and introing that as opposed to those in the blockchain world. Um, but like the ways I think to do it would be like Justice by Tezos or Justice of Tezos or some. I don't know. Don't listen to me. But like I don't know.
I
It's
like
all
Secret
experimental.
Agents,
So
man. I've been watching a lot of lame action movies. I think Secret Agents are it, man. No, I'm
which
kidding.
action movies?
The old Bond ones, the ones that were good.
Mm.
Not like Pierce
Oh
Brosnan running slowly, pretending to be action hero. That was intense. Watching it back, like I can't believe that worked at the
yeah.
time, but it did.
Nobody. Yeah. Now they're all watch ads. That's
They
all.
really
All the
are.
James Bonds are just watch ads. That's all it is. They got Pierce Brosnan was a watch ad model actor person, not a Bond. But he got better in the later ones. I feel. You know.
I'm with you. I'm tracking. Now the later ones felt more gritty and real, but I think the Batman Begins series really sort of changed how people wanted to receive that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, that was good at I mean, the Batman Begins really needed like we needed a palate cleanser after the abomination that was Batman and Robin.
Bro, but that
Um,
TV series only
Sorry.
existed because they had burned so much
no,
money and they had to have a show.
no, no, no. I mean, the movie by Joel Schumacher, which was his follow up to Batman Forever, that was just like everything that was terrible that everyone hated about, um, you know,
It seemed like
like
they
where
went
these
right
movies are
back to the
going.
TV show at that point.
The Batman and Robin? No. Like I know that there was more of the like Batman and Batman Returns had a close association with the Batman, the animated series. Or you're thinking about the original Adam West TV show, you mean?
The biggest sunk cost, they were like, it's gonna not, we don't even, we're gonna cancel it, it's so bad, and they were like, no, we spent too much money, we're gonna make it good, and they went with it.
You mean the
Yeah, Adam
Adam West
West.
one from like the
Adam West, yeah.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, there was some of that, but it's just like the whole point. It was supposed to be the Forever, Batman Forever and and Robin, they're meant to be continuations of the same franchise series that started with, uh, the Tim Burton Batman and Batman Returns. And Joel Schumacher had a really weird idea. And like the reason why, like Michael Keaton talked about it, he was like why it wasn't good. Like they were in talks to maybe like he'd stay on as Batman, even though Tim Burton was leaving. But like the thing that he cites is like he had a conversation with him about like the decor and stuff, and he's like, "Why is everything so dark and gloomy? Like why is it so like the noir elements of it?"
Like he
And
completely
then
missed the point.
Michael Keaton's like, "Do you understand this guy's origin story? Do you understand how like really fucked up that is? Like what?" And Joel Schumacher is coming from like Top Gun and volleyball scene and like so he put nipples on Batman for no reason and like it's just stupid things like that. It was just so weird. I remember that was Batman and Robin was the first movie like as a kid that I saw in a movie theater. And when you're a kid, that kind of stuff is just it's so hard to not like one of those movies. That was the first movie where I just felt like a higher taste level of in the first 5 minutes. I'm like, this is bad. This is beneath me. I feel insulted that I'm watching this. Uh, um, like it's yeah, it's something about if you watch just the first 5 minutes of it, like they really let you know, like they really drew a line there. It's like you're either gonna hate this, or you've had a lobotomy at some point, and You
Well,
know, it's
maybe it
one of
was
those
for
two
people who
things.
didn't know it, and they were like, you know what? If you know the Care Bears, you're gonna love Batman.
Don't be an apologetic for Joel Schumacher's.
Lex,
You know,
welcome to the stage.
Hey, what's up? Was lobotomy the safe word? So yeah, okay. But yeah,
I
I
I
love
think
the
we just talked about Joel Schumacher too much at that point, so I just had to move. No, I'm kidding. Kevin, you rock,
I
man. Your knowledge of movies is astounding. But welcome to the stage, Lex.
yeah. Listen, Batman '66 is a dope documentary that just came out on that whole thing, and yeah, it's really dope. But what I wanted to do is just say what's up to the room, what's up to everybody. Good to see everybody in the new year, and I wanted to rewind the tape a little bit while we still had Kevin on stage, and you went pretty deep in there with all the updates and stuff to the chain. And I was wondering, maybe there already is this thing that I'm thinking about that I think would be essential, and maybe you can guide me. Or if not, do you think this can exist within the Tezos blockchain ecosystem? I'm thinking, is there anything close to actually having a locker or an escrow kind of system where maybe I wanted to trade a barter, a particular asset um, on the Tesla ecosystem and not necessarily sell it, burn it, but actually put it into something where somebody else says, "Hey, I'll take you up on that," and I could put a request of what I'm looking for, and that locker, we could both put our assets in that locker. I take the one that that I request, and they'll take the other one. You guys know what I'm talking about? Yes, no, maybe so.
yeah, there was an escrow thing with SmartLink. They had at
Okay.
one point. Um, it didn't take off, but
But do you see as okay as an artist, as a collector, as um, I'm Android. I find myself wanting this so bad. I wanted it in ETH. I wanted it in everything.
to
And,
collect offers to list
well,
something to get an
it's
offer.
almost okay. So let me give you a real world context. Okay, so I wish Retro was in the room. So Retro last week, or I believe it was a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, um, had had one of his Atom Corp leads from his Retro Man arcade series, right? I jumped on a couple of them, and I'm like, man, I would like the rest of them to complete my set, right? And I'm looking around to see, who else has the other. I want to think. I think it's another maybe 6 of them that they're out in the series. I'm like, hey, I would love to trade this with anybody else who has extra ones of the other one, whether it's Super Retro, Nala, Mobile Ultra, Sentinel, and All Dimension. It would be cool if I can go ahead and upload or however or select this one and say, okay, I want this to go into the escrow locker. And this is what I'm looking for, any of these other 6. And then they could go ahead and put the other one in there and we can kind of like trade, barter, little flea market, of assets. And I don't know. I was wondering if maybe Zero Contract had that or anything else out there, or is that something somebody needs to build?
Yeah, I think yeah, because a couple of things sound integrated, like the escrow system, and then a
Is
way
that
of
is that the proper way
communicating.
of I was thinking
I mean,
more
I
like
don't know.
banking and stuff, but escrow
Yeah, you could
seems
build.
like yeah.
Yeah, I mean, try and build it like where who's got the
I
let
think
me
it's
put
coming from Lex. Lex, I think yeah, we're getting feedback from your like yeah every time we speak at least. Yeah, go ahead,
Sorry,
Kevin.
it's my fans. Okay.
ah yeah, I mean I think it's worth trying. I mean, if there's demand for something, then yeah, build it. Um, I think yeah, for new apps, like a lot of it's great when like people like start the community for it first, and then getting people to discuss it and get hyped up about it, and then like that kind of fuels the drive to make a new thing. Um, and that can even translate to getting funding from the ecosystem DAO or other sources. Yeah, we do need to, I feel, inspire more experimental entrepreneurship. Maybe taking like the best lessons, or the lessons kind of from the Etherlink experiments, uh, in which, like I always said, like we did that DCA accelerator for it, but we never did such a thing for DeFi on Tezos. Um, so like, and I think the approach, and also representing the brands, which to say, look, there's a presence of stuff here. It's like we should do that with Tezos proper, and um, so yeah, I think that's something I'd like to see: accelerator programs and hackathons and things that are like more hackathons and accelerator pro. I mean, that's key. That was, yeah. But for Tezos proper. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. Kryptonio Blanks, you ever see stuff like this? Do we have elements of it in the ecosystem?
I think that we used to have some sort of like not platform, but somebody had created some smart contracts where you could like, put one asset in and trade it for another specific one, but I can't really remember how it worked or how exactly.
I just remember SmartLink, man. It's like as far as escrow goes, I haven't really seen anybody else pursuing it, although it is like hugely needed
No,
niche.
I'm trying to remember. There was like a community built one, like not from any of the big teams or any teams like that. Like it was community built, more like a tool. Where you could go and just add a specific NFT, let's say, and trade it for another NFT or anything you would set. But I can't remember the name.
Was it like that, like the pseudo swap kind of thing that Spice, that Genius Contracts made? What do they call it?
No. It was a different. Wait, was it by Pure Spider? What was his name? And
They had
Spider
almost
Monkeys?
like a pawn,
Pure Spider,
a pawn
or
shop
something.
set up or something similar to that.
Let
Like
me
you
let me
could-
try to search for it a little bit.
I love that concept. That's so yeah.
What was the thing, like, because the Artdex, was that what was called, the Genius Contract made Artdex.io, I think.
A few
Yeah.
years back, there was one on E where it looked like it looked like a DEX. You had all your tokens on this and all that, but it wasn't currency. It was actually, it was art assets. And it's like, okay, you could trade that. I don't know where that went.
Was it
Um,
Pseudo Swap?
I don't. If you would say the name, I probably don't remember. I just remember aesthetically how it looked like. It looked like swear like NES. The way they did it aesthetically, and I would have to go back to my OG 2017 wallet to see where I could find that metadata. But I think you guys are on top of it, and this is the right conversation, and just what everything you were talking about previously, and just tinkering with picking your brains today, because even just this right here, because I wanted to kind of like announce to the community, I wish Retro was around, to say, hey, listen, guys, if anybody else had grabbed some of the retro stuff in the past of this series, let's talk behind the scenes and whatever, and let's barter. But then there's that trust issue, right? It's like, well, I don't know, do I trust Lex, or I don't know, do I trust like Sally, or or whatever, Mario? It's like, how do I do it? Do I send it to you first? Are you going to keep it for a couple of days and think about sending it to me? Where it's like, if we had something like this, and I think, yes, I mean, I think the demand is there. Even if you didn't know the demand was there, I think, yes. And I think it'd be great as a community kind of like trade, where it can even be populated as like, oh, such and such person or such and such traded this for this. It's almost going to populate the data of what got traded, where it's like, hey, there's assets being traded. And I think it'll be great for artists and for people that didn't know this type of art existed, or, oh, I didn't know that was, available, even though they were sold out. So those are a couple of things I wanted to mention. And while I have the mic, I just wanted to also say, I had invited, I guess I was the last to know about this, but I invited from friends __. I'm not sure if that's an alias of one of our colleagues.
We've actually reached out to them in the past to have them on the show, and when they are ready to be, they will join.
Okay,
For now,
okay,
they
great.
don't want to. Yeah, because
Okay,
they keep building a bunch of tools. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Like, I think you saw me that I invited them, because I think, I mean, as a curator, as well as an artist, as well as everything else, I think this is important because I'm seeing the pitfalls. And to give context of what I'm talking about, is that when there is a open call, those are the most crucial moments of like, okay, yeah, 600 people apply to this open call for the submission for this particular event that's going to happen. We're going to have all this digital art happen. You know, a lot of people create the art and then digitize it, or it starts digital, however the case, and then now they realize this imagery that they've been working on is going to live outside of their phone or outside of their laptop or what have you. Is it ready for the big screen? Is it ready for the big moment, for the big stage? You know, whereas I've had to go through there and then deal with the artist or the creator and be like, hey, you realize this needs to be put in this orientation within this and when this, and almost like, you know, carrying them over. Where I find that from friends underscore is trying to, like, you know, think ahead and say, okay, well, how can we make it easier for them? They're trying to create an app or somewhat a database that kind of deals with this, you know, in a sense, which I think it's a good start, and I think the community needs to kind of get around this kind of thinking as well, of like how can we facilitate artists or whoever to be able to be the liaison of how do we bring art over to the bigger stage where it's going to bring more, you know, the optics to your art or to your activation, you know, through this. But yeah, I kind of want to bring in that point as well. Thanks, guys.
So I have the legend MB from down in the audience messaging me in the background, and he told me that we actually had a bunch of escrows and trading platforms like that to be able to trade NFTs and even ask, you know, what you have and what you want and stuff like that. But the main issue was that none of them was, respecting the royalties and stuff like that. So many weren't endorsing them, and probably that's why none of them caught. But yeah, I'm not too deep into this topic.
Oh, so that's some
That
great.
apparently that was a concern, you know. with
That's
this process.
that's great input going forward to like try to work with that. You know, those are those little things of like, oh, okay, where did this project stop and why? Okay, that's a great reason why to pause, because you want that to continue. But yeah, these are the projects I'm definitely interested in working with the community and just, you know, feedback and moving forward and supporting.
Nice. He actually sent me a few links to check, and for example, there was one named XTZ NFTs. No, sorry, XTZ NFT swap.xyz, and you can still see the UI. I don't know if it is functional, so be wary. But you can see that it worked like that. You could have, you know, you chose which one you have to trade, which one you want, stuff like that, and others could accept it, the trades. But it might not
Antonio,
be functional anymore.
if you can post or either up
I'll DM you
ahead
the link.
or
I'll DM you the link
okay, that's
if you
cool.
want.
I appreciate that. I'll dig in from there.
Yeah, you brought up Blangs the smart link thing. I think they put a lot of effort into making, and for people who don't know, Smart Link was like I think they changed their name a few times, but they were like a DeFi thing on
Sorry, Kevin.
Tezos.
Sorry for the interruption. Lex, give me a follow so I can message you. I cannot message you on my
So
Kryptonia account.
so SmartLink, they made what was, I feel, the best DEX interface ever on Tezos. And what they should have done is kept working on that and made that their focus. But I know the reason. They decided to go and pivot, well, not pivot, but just focus their attention immediately after deploying the exchange over to making this whole escrow type service. And there was no demand for this. No one was asking for it. Everyone really wanted a good DEX, but there was no demand for this thing. But they were just like, no, it's all about these escrows. And I asked them at one point, like, why are you doing this? And they're like, well, that's, like, our funding was really for that. So I mean, so it was basically like to whatever investors that they went, private investors, they got private investment. I want to be clear. Like they, they wanted to do all this stuff. Like, okay, we're going to do this exchange, and then we could expand into other things, blah blah, like an escrow and whatever. And then that investor was like, escrow, that's fucking great. And so they were all hopped up about it, and so that's what like really closed it for them. So they had to put all this attention into this escrow thing. So they put it out, and nobody used it because nobody wanted it because it was pointless. And that took all their time and money. It took a really long time for them to finish it. I think it took like close to another year for them to finish that after they had launched the exchange. And people just they wanted a good exchange. They could be dominating exchanges, but they didn't focus on it. So I think they did a rebrand of the exchange to Vortex. Eventually the founder, whatever, he, like within less than a year, he transferred ownership of the whole operation to some other guy, and then it just quietly closed down. Um,
Do you remember Signum?
Hmm?
Signum. Do you remember that platform?
Signum?
Yeah,
No.
it
Sounds
was
familiar.
created by Pure Spider, Tirides, and I think Piero. I don't remember. It was by three people.
Yeah.
Piero.
Yeah, and you could basically I think it was not so much for trading, but for putting like your NFTs as collateral to lend, or you could like, yeah. Let me remember how exactly it works. Like you could choose
Does it
3 or 4
work?
NFTs and ask for like a
Oh,
specific amount of Tezos, as a loan, and you would have to repay it and stuff like that. I don't think it ever caught.
Yeah,
yeah.
the
I've been
pawn
thinking
shop.
What it
about
was, but yeah,
how to
yeah,
do
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
use an NFT since like the first article I ever had, like in 2019, I think, about lending uh, on Tezos, like how we could do NFT. And then NFTs weren't associated with art back then. So I was literally like, if you go back to that, I was referring to real estate NFTs, which is what they were created for, essentially, sort of. But like the same concept though. It's like, how do you create like value for this asset, which you might not, you can't necessarily liquidate it like on an exchange for that. Somebody has to be willing to buy it, particularly if it's like a one of one. I mean, even for things that have a lot of volume, for like those very high, like commodity drops, like those 10K kind of PFP projects where there's a floor price, it's still not, they might not immediately sell. Um, so it's a really hard thing to add to a normal exchange. So the only way to do it really is to get an appraisal for like a guaranteed appraisal, and sort of like a pre-sale agreement for that object, to which a person who's like the guarantor of it would, if this person their NFT needs to be liquidated, well then whoever said that they would buy it for that agreed price would do so. They'd get the NFT, and then whatever funds they have in liquid, asset coins would go over to, liquidate that person's lending account. um, that's the only way to really do it, that I can't think of any other way. Even after all these years, it's still the same kind of concept. Which is, and it's different than how, like, you could put your house up for collateral on a loan, but like the bank takes a risk in that they might not get the full value of the asset if they, but they will put it up for auction and whatever. And so then they're like, they can float whatever money for a while because they're a bank. But that doesn't work the same way in decentralized finance, because everything has to be accounted for, and collateral has to be guaranteed collateral that the smart contract can mathematically recognize, and everything has to be accounted for and clean. You can't take a hit, um, based on like, whoops, guess it didn't sell, or didn't sell for as much. So yeah, it's hard to do. Everybody wants to do it, but it's so hard.
I think that's why I was using the pawn model. Because, I mean, technically, what you talk about is like traditional finance versus what those deals that are made on, like, well, we watched the glamorized version on Pawn Stars. But, I mean, that's basically what does happen. You bring in something, you're looking at getting a quarter to half of what it could be sold for, and the idea that it might sell, but it probably won't. It's a weird model.
Yeah. I mean, you need to have a pre-auction. So, and it would, like, if it were the off-chain version of that, it would be like, if the bank says, okay, we'll accept your house as collateral for this loan, but we don't know if we're going to get, if we have to seize your house and sell it, that we're going to get the amount of money we need to make this the proper collateral we're appraising it at right now. So here's what we're going to do. Before anything is done, we're just going to put a pre-auction out there, and people who would theoretically buy this say that, like they'll go through it and then we'll have an agreed price, and they don't exchange any money, but we'll have a contract with them that if shit hits the fan and we need to seize this house, that they will have to buy this thing at that agreed price, pre-agreed price, and they will get the house, and we get that, no matter what, we get that money that they agreed to in advance. um, and then you can use your house as collateral. um, so take like there would be three parties involved effectively. So that would be the only way to do it in DeFi, but it's just so many moving parts.
Would it be a
You know?
Dutch auction? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what I did actually put as a like my suggestion for in that original Tesfin article about how to do it. It would, yeah, so you'd start at the price that you would want it to be valued at, and then gradually it'll go down until someone's like, all right, that's agreeable. Stimulating.
You got my wheels turning, dude. I love this. Thank you. You always get me going, though, Kevin. I do appreciate your contributions to these conversations, always.
I appreciate your appreciation.
I'm over here thinking,
Quick,
man.
quick shout out to Jack down in the audience, who is creating fart noises. Like, he's so creative with the names. You gotta give him that for his tools. And
Fart noises?
Yeah, apparently there's a notifications tool that he is building for.
Is it like
Or
Leslie
clean it up.
Nielsen's fart box?
I have no clue, man.
He's a comedian. He was doing a serious interview, and he had a fart box. And every time they'd ask him a question, he would use timing, and he would hit the fart, and like he would play off it like he was completely not embarrassed. And the guy interviewing him obviously was completely mortified and horrified because he thought Leslie was actually farting. A friend of mine actually owns that box. But anyway, sorry. Segue.
Yeah. All right.
Well, I do want to remind anyone, or a quick reset really for anyone just joining. This is Tuesday Tezday. We're in a community call tonight. We ran through a few updates earlier, and the room is now open. People are coming up to share what they're working on, react to headlines, or just bring up anything related. So we'll keep going from here. If you got anything you want to share, you want to join the conversation, if you feel up for it, come up and let's have a chat. Love to have you up here. In recent news, Kryptonia is taking up tap dancing.
What?
Tap dancing around talking up on stage. Oh, no, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Kevin, have you tried any? Yeah, see how fast I changed the subject? Kevin, have you tried the shield bridge? I think I saw USD Tezos was also one of the assets there, right?
Yeah, I played with it. I did it with USD Tez, and yeah, it was the not. Oh, I didn't. I don't know if I tried the one that was deployed by. No, Tez Bridge. Yeah, it was that one. Who
Shield
made that?
bridge.
Who? Yeah, Shield Bridge. Who? That
Andrew
was good.
Kishino.
Yeah, yeah. And so I did it with him, like swapping the shielded asset. And yeah, and it worked. And it was the cleanest, best interface. I mean, we haven't had many interfaces for this, even though the technology to the protocol capability on Tezos, like you could do this on Tezos for a long time, but nobody bothered to entertain shielding, like actually doing it until, well, air gap did it, like the papers guys, they did it, a version of that. But and I applaud them for being the first to go and do that and try it out. I don't think they stuck with it to iterate on it. and it was not easy to use.
It was a different time back then as well, though, right? I
Yeah.
mean, back then, the whole landscape, the crypto landscape around the privacy and everything was
Oh yeah.
very hostile. And that's why many teams, not just in Tezos, dropped, anything related to privacy back then. There were
But
delistings and stuff.
that was I mean, like I specifically remember what a big barrier was. Like it was just kind of like okay, so you have to use like a shielded contract, but they didn't want to integrate any kind of shielded contract that you could use
Yeah,
because
yeah,
that would be
yeah.
their own thing. So they said, well, here's like a sample thing that you can use, but I mean, if you choose to do that, but it's not ours and whatever. So you had to. There was more of a manual process, which was like, come on, what the
It
fuck?
wasn't UI
Either do it
friendly,
or don't. Do it or don't.
and
But
it wasn't
I
UI
can't
friendly.
really criticize, and I haven't criticized because it's like, well, no one else is trying this.
Yeah,
And there was some like we didn't in the Tezos. This is also the first time that we really talked. Like, you go to the Tezos account, and there is talk about shielded transactions and privacy and all that stuff. Before they were, when I had these sort of conversations with different people, it was um, like from that which would reflect maybe the auspices of the social media accounts and everything. There was a massive concern that like if you started talking about these privacy transactions or whatever, it would be as if you're facilitating something that someone might use for um, like a not kosher reason, and that would be something that would alienate perhaps financial institutions that we'd want to part, or jurisdictions that we'd want to accept us or whatever. So we didn't play it up, we played it down in the ecosystem. But now it's all hot again because Zcash has just
just
surged
to
like crazy.
clarify,
And
it wasn't just us that played it down. I think it
oh,
was every
yeah,
ecosystem out there.
I
yeah.
think there was this
Yeah,
thing called,
because
Tornado Cash that scared everybody.
yeah. And if you remember, there were the listings from many exchanges, from for Monero and even Zcash in many, even Dash in many exchanges was delisted back then. So that scared a lot of developers and teams, working around privacy and stuff.
It's weird because crypto grows in waves, and before we had sort of the like new like that sort of post like 2018 crop of L1 smart contract protocols and all those applications and their tokens, and that what became like the more of the central conversation around crypto assets and where venture capital would flow. In the 2016 early 2017 part of stuff, and 2015, the people I feel were really carrying the torch for altcoin stuff, it was these privacy platforms. It was the Moneros of the world, and Dash, and I'm forgetting some. And then there were communities around that, and people are like, oh, then there's maybe a new school, Komodo, it's another, and then so Pivex and that kind of stuff. But it wasn't like the oxygen was taken out of the room for other things that were not as, I think, linear in purpose. And I think like people were just like, look, either you're going deep into the crypto world and you're not concerned with this privacy, or you have your own, stuff, privacy stuff. You're not thinking constantly about privacy like that. So some people thought of it as a speculative asset, uh, but it just wasn't hot. Now it is again. But oddly enough, because crypto has grown so much, and then there are jurisdictions that are, and institutions and abusers out there that are trying to attack and um, steal things, that are like aggressively inform or effectively informing the need for privacy protocols and privacy
Yeah, and
capabilities.
just to quickly add some context for the people that might have not zero clue about what we are talking about here, right? We're talking about being able to do private transactions, and what does that mean? It means like if I send some funds from my wallet to Blank's wallet, I don't want Blanks to immediately have access to all my transaction history, my balances, and everything. Like, which is the normal thing in traditional
Maybe you
finance. When you
shouldn't
go
have
to
your
pay,
wallet name Kryptonio.tez then.
that's true. That's true. But you get the point. If I want to go and pay for a coffee from my wallet, my crypto wallet, I shouldn't have, the bartender be able to access all my financial history on the blockchain. When you put it like that and when you see it like that, it does look like the normal thing. Meanwhile, in blockchain world and crypto, it's not that normal. We call it privacy and we call it like something extra, or it immediately for some people, it draws like something illegal is gonna go on or whatever. But it's not like that. Yeah, like you can have privacy when you choose for your transactions, and you can also have like viewing keys. That's another cool feature that I like with the implementation, is that you can have viewing keys when you want to give it to an auditor or for a tax to the tax authorities or whatever. You can reveal your transactions and everything. So it is selective privacy in a way, and it should be the normal thing, probably, thinking about it. I don't know.
I remember back in like early 20 or 2021 when the like I was going on Clubhouse and everything, and I made Tezos.art and I was promoting Tezos NFT platforms and telling everybody there's another option. You can do Tezos. That was when Nunc first launched and Calumet first launched. So I was evangelizing the hell out of it. Um, and but and I, the thing is, I was still also coming out of the world of Tezos and of crypto, being born in it, of the world of like even just some sort of like a soft privacy of, well, you don't go around telling people your public key, even like it's that's your stuff. Like you don't. Why would anybody ask about that? Your identity wasn't to be associated with, your wallet. Why would you do that? It's like showing your bank statements. Like why would you do that?
Yeah.
But um, the thing is, people coming in for the first time into crypto because of NFTs, it was the opposite. You show off your wallet, and your wallet is where you collect revenues if you're an artist and all of that. So I was still of like, well, yeah, I'm collecting these NFTs, but I'm sure as shit not showing that my public key to the world. But then weirdly, I was like getting a lot of flack from some group of people who I would onboard, and they're like, do you not buy NFTs? Like, what are you talking about? It's like, you don't show us any, like, where's, come on, let's see it. Come on,
Let's see
pull
it,
your dick out.
Kevin. Let's see it. Pull it out.
Well,
See,
I
I
had
was
I
doing
had
the thing, and
actually in
then
another
you
discussion
didn't
with an
trust me to.
artist.
Right.
Yeah, I had
Um,
another discussion with an artist. The same thing that he told me, like, somebody sent him a link to their NFT or whatever, and or they were discussing about it, and he commented that it was really nice and everything, and the other guy was like, so why don't you buy one? And was like, I cannot buy one right now, but you have X amount of XTs in your wallet, so that's not normal, like
yeah.
you should.
It, it-
It's
they
not
didn't
healthy.
understand. It wasn't
Yeah.
like, it was just a different thing for us. Like we were coming
Yeah.
from a different culture. And that's when I decided, that was when I was like, okay, I'll have this wallet, and that'll be the public facing one, and that's where I'll collect NFTs. I'll have other wallets for other things, but I guess what they're saying makes sense. Like a lot of this is showing off your collection, and
Well,
like,
that's fine. Yeah, but you should also
so
have the option to be private. And sorry, really
yeah.
quick, Lex, I saw
But
you raising
also,
your hand at some point.
let me
Did
just
you
say,
have a
so
question on what we were discussing?
Yeah. I just want to throw some jimmies on the Sunday there. At one point, I'm hearing an echo. I don't know if that's on my end,
hey, are you
but
from Philly? I never heard anyone else say Jimmy's.
originally
You,
from Lawrence, Mass. Yeah, that's
okay,
funny. I threw that in there. Little bait. So
love it.
Jimmy's equals sprinkles for everybody else. But
Right.
so check this out. Just going back to that era of at one point the federal government or IRS had a bounty of over $625,000 to anyone who can crack Monero. And that bounty ended up turning into an actual contract that they pushed through. And they were, I kind of like, I've known this for a while, almost as an urban legend, because they feel there were millions of dollars that they can, that went through there that they can, do what they do, right? So at one point, just to, let's see here what happened. They ended up, the contracts were awarded. The IRS awarded two separate contracts to blockchain analytics firms, Chain Analyst and Integra in 2020-21 to develop these tools. So the point was to offer a contract, a developer prototype that could reliably trace transactions with an initial payment of 500,000 and a final of 125K upon successful testing. The challenge is over. Submission for close in September 2020. Contracts have long since been completed. So evidently, at some point, some company were able. Now, I'm not sure if Monero from there forked, and then because of that, did something different. This information that I'm seeing here doesn't say that. But just to give a little bit of context to what you guys were talking about as well, of how the Zcash and Monero were so strong back then with this kind of with that technology of from anonymous to synonymous, transactions.
Yeah, and because with the Silk Road seizure and all that kind of stuff, like they were able to crack and trace everything except for Monero. That was the one thing, which is also like it's kind of crazy. Monero didn't take off as much as I think it still as it could have, and it actually really waned so long. It didn't go away, but it was just like people
It
forgot about
was
it because it was so
it
yeah.
had kind of terrible UI with wallets and stuff, and I don't know when I tried it back in 2021, I think last time. It was a terrible user experience, to
Mm,
even hold it and transfer it outside of, because many wallets weren't actually supporting it, so you had to use some native wallets, and every time they had to
yeah.
kind of like sync up with the nodes and stuff, and it was terrible user experience.
There was the while where stuff was cooking at one point. I remember Poloniex back in the day. If people remember Poloniex back when it was like one of the top exchanges, as a standalone before Coinbase bought it and rebranded it 10 times over and or shut it down. Like they had like little tabs for, okay, BTC and like all the pairings that it would trade with it. And then it had ETH and all the pairings you could trade with it, USDT and all there was no USDC yet, US all trade. And then the other one was Monero. Like that's how much there were people were
Yeah.
trading with it and it was coming from the world of people, like there was a very privacy centric world and people, yeah, coming from Silk Road, and that mattered to them. But it's as time went on, there were like the conversation, like there aren't that many influencers that are also people who are so hyper privacy focused. Kind of
Yeah, that seems
contradicts,
kind of counterintuitive. Privacy and influencer.
you know.
I'm a
Yeah.
privacy influencer, but you don't know who. Hold on, real quick, before we go any further.
Quick welcome,
It,
yeah.
it has been brought to my attention. We have a new stranger on board, R Yang Tana. Welcome.
Hello.
What's
Happy
up,
New Year,
Ryan?
everyone.
You sound like Ryan Tanaka, but you are R Yang Tana.
Yes, that's how it shows up here, apparently. uh yeah, interesting conversation. It's been a while since we talked about privacy in crypto, and everyone here, I think, saying this kind of like reflects my experience as well. Like people used to talk about that a lot. Like it used to be like a pretty core part of the conversation, but it kind of like faded away in the last few years. But I was kind of curious about
Meanwhile, the new Zcash was harder, but then again, it depends really on the activity that you have inside the set, and
Right.
so the more transactions that are coming in and out, because even now on Tezos, for example, if you go to use to do a private transaction,
Mhm.
the shielding action when you shield some Tez, because you have two separate addresses. One is your normal address, the public one, right? And then you have another one which is
Yeah.
visible on chain
Yeah.
that
That's what I
that
thought.
you are
Okay.
shielding X
Yeah.
amount of Tez.
So they
Then
don't
if you
know. They don't know once it's in there. They don't know, but like they can see you going in there, right?
exactly, and
Right.
they also can see when something is coming out to your wallet from that set, from
I
that
know.
contract.
So if you
Let's say,
put in like $500,000, and then on the other side you see a 500K, it's like,
exactly. And
who's
if there
that? I
are no
wonder who
other,
that
Yeah.
yeah.
is. You know.
Exactly.
I wonder
But
who's
anything
in
that
that.
happens inside the
Yeah.
shielded set, so if you have a shielded address and I have a shielded address, I can and I have some
Okay.
shielded tests, I can send them to you. You will not see I think from where they came, just that
Mhm.
you received that amount, you know.
Yeah.
And that will not be visible on the
Maybe that's
explorers
good
on the
enough,
blockchain.
for most people.
Like a network of, and I don't know how to implement this, if it's would need to be incentivized, or but like we do need like bots running that would effectively obfuscate the activities so
Right.
that you wouldn't
Right.
be able to trace it, because that was the issue. And even when IO, so J.I.O. Akinyele, who was actually very seminal in bringing these Z saplings to Tezos back in 2020, and who's on our team for Stable Tez and Stable Tech. But he, um, like, we did some experimental transactions and it worked using the clunky thing that was on air gap, but he was just like, it doesn't really matter
Yeah.
because like we're the only ones doing it. Obviously it was us.
Yeah. People
You
have to
like
get in on it, right, and agree that to use
yeah.
this thing.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we were thinking of like, how could we do this? And it's just like, ultimately what we decided was just we'd have to basically, to make privacy work and to promote that as a feature of our stablecoins, and we'd have to basically build that whole mechanism, and it doesn't make any sense. So it would have to be done, I feel, on a ecosystem wide level.
Right.
And we have to decide, does it matter so much for us to do that? Might And privacy trends, like, it's in season right now, but it was in season before, and then not so much. And
Probably needs to be
will it go
integrated
away
into
again?
the
Yeah.
wallet and such, right?
I mean, we
So
So
we,
they
we
can.
need
Umami added
people doing
Umami
stuff.
just added support for shielded
Yeah.
transactions inside their wallet, so you can use it from inside their wallet and have your shielded address and your normal address inside
I
your
feel
wallet and
like the
use
way
it.
people get around it now is that they just treat wallets as disposable. It's like kind of like a fake
Well,
email.
for
Yeah,
now,
but
for
it still has to
example, you
come
could
from
also
somewhere.
use yeah, but again, this is not to hide from everybody and from everything. This is to have some privacy when you interact on chain here with others. Let's say you make an art piece and
Yeah,
you want
yeah,
to
yeah,
get
yeah.
paid, or you want to pay someone that did a gig for you, right?
Just don't want to make it too easy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can use that way so they don't have immediate access to all your
Hmm.
wallet amounts and transactions and everything, let's say.
Yeah, I guess I have mixed feelings about it because for a while I was like really interested in like uh economic models that can be like a lot of economic models just plain doesn't work if you don't know who the person is, right? So like that's where like KYC and stuff like that becomes important. And I feel like in the future there's probably gonna be like a you know ecosystems that rely on identity, right? Completely. Either you're KYC'd or you know exactly who that person is and you can see everything, and that's just the game. But there's also like a need, right, for some of these anonymized yeah, I don't know, they used to talk about
Yeah.
stuff like that, right? Like especially if you're like living in a country where the government is hostile, right? um there's like a legitimate use case for not
Mhm.
knowing who you are,
Yeah.
right? So
Or
you're
you're a
trying to,
journalist, or
yeah.
um, but the long term trend of everything is towards like identity transparency,
Hmm.
and people's, and not because like, oh well, everyone's requiring it. No, but research on this too. Like the younger the generation you look at, the less concerned they are with their data privacy. They don't give a shit because they live through the world where that's the case. People have all their data, but it doesn't change anything. Like the world is not ending
It's
for
too
them. And so
late
they're
for
fine with it.
us, you
Right.
know.
But also,
Yeah.
let me tell you, back to the example of the, like, it's like, okay, here's my public wallet. People can see my collection. That's the kind of thing. In fact, it's Kevin.Tez. You can go and look it up that way. Right? It was so liberating, to know that. And it felt really good. That's like, oh yeah, this is better. That I can, and
I
people
mean,
do see my
because we have
transactions. And
check
it's,
marks, right? We have
yeah,
check marks
it
next to
was
our
weird in
names.
the beginning where it was like I was doing other things or buying something or like moving and I was just like, this is weird. People could just see this. I'm like, but I also realized nobody gives a shit. Why the fuck would they care? Why would they care? Like they're thinking about their own stuff. It's just like it's not a big deal. And it just felt good. It's like, yeah, get it all out there. I got nothing to hide. Just
Yeah.
go and do it. And it's like if you're not doing anything nefarious, and I'm not, then it's like why, like you realize, oh, the only reason why anybody kept stuff it's just because people tell you you need to keep it private, because that's like, what are you, an idiot? Keep it private. It's like, why? So like all our shit is out. Remember when
Yeah.
people were so afraid, like, oh, if you Google my name, something comes
But
up.
that's
It's
like
like,
kind
well,
of
yeah, it
the
should be the
whole point
case.
of it, right? That's kind of the whole
Branding.
point of crypto to begin with. Like people were tired of people making decisions behind closed doors.
Not for the individual. For the individual, they want the opposite. They say, no privacy. How dare you even ask my public key? Who are you? And why
Yeah,
are
but
you asking
now
for
even
public
the
key?
institutions don't have that anymore, right?
Right.
Like
The institutions
you
were,
don't know what the exchanges are
it was a
doing,
very
right?
weird contradiction that I always noticed, that it's just like they expect this from public facing institutions, but for themselves and as the individual, they wanted the opposite of that. And it's like, it was a very strange paradox from even from the very beginnings of the blockchain community
Hmm.
that's carried through even through now. It's a very, very kind of an odd thing. There was a time when I was, remember doing the upgrade proposals or whatever, when for liquidity baking stuff, and then people were trying to like vet USD Tez for a lot of things, like just give it shit and good questions being asked, and some things that led to good improvements. But I remember it got ridiculous where they were like, well, we don't know who your multi-sig signers are. It's like, what? Like, yeah, why isn't that public? It's like, you want the people who have access to the accounts, like the collateral money, you want the identities revealed. Like, do you want to know where their kids go to school as well? What the fuck are you talking? Like,
Put a target
why
on
would
them.
that be more? It's like, well, if it's truly okay, that's like, no, stop trying to just be political. Think about what you're asking for. Do you feel more safe with that? It doesn't make any sense. So it's just kind of like people leading in these directions because they think they're being consistent. But no, you have. It's like, well, this other thing has their multi-sig. It's like they have their multi-sig members revealed. It's like, no, that's a ceremonial multi-sig. Those people don't have any control over any funding. They don't do any sensitive work with their signatures. That was just to initiate and deploy the contract. This is not, that's has nothing to do with it. And then I think there were a couple, um, like we remember in the previous cycles how many multi-sig hacks there were for those that stupidly decided to reveal their members because they felt they had
Yeah.
enough of them.
Yeah, it's a
Like
security threat.
yeah, that
Yeah.
they were like 5 of 7 multi-sigs or 7 of 13 or something. and it's like, well, it's wide enough, then let's reveal it. And yeah, and they got fucking hacked. Like, it's like, because if you're an attacker, it's like, oh wow, all we have to do is get these 7
Oh,
people,
they're over there. Cool.
and we
You
have
know,
billions of dollars. Shit.
those are the
So
people we should be targeting, right?
yeah,
It's like
so it's
announcing.
it
Yeah.
was a very, and like, I wonder, it's like, why would they reveal those identities? It's just, and I know why. It's because they probably went through the same thing that I was going through. It's just the difference is I told those people to fuck off, and they were like, well, I guess they're right, we gotta, you know
It's a
the point
tricky
is,
issue.
I know
Yeah.
better than the people who got hacked.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's tricky because, yeah, on one hand, identity is like important, right? But at the same time, it's like, where do you draw the line, right? I think for a while, I do remember for a while, the Ethereum team and even Vitalik was talking about this for a while. This is a long time ago, but they were exploring the idea of being able to create a identity on the blockchain without KYC. So it would start with like, I think Tezos did a little bit of that too, right? Like verification, right? Remember when they used to like ask
I
for
think
your
it was like
Twitter
wallet
handle
based.
or
well, I
online,
mean,
yeah. So
there was, when in activating the initial fundraiser allocations, the initially deployed Tez, not like that was being issued by the initial allotment
yeah,
coming from
of
Tezos
course.
Foundation. So that was there was like a letter that came out about it from Ryan Jesperson, who was president of the foundation at the time. And this is before Tezos launched. There was a lot of mixed feelings about this, and for a lot of people, they felt like, oh, fuck this. I don't want KYC to be a part of it. But I remember the letter was just like, look, if we want to have listings anywhere, like if we want to
Mhm.
be accepted in jurisdictions, and like this is for one thing the trend in which all of this stuff is going, but also like it's just a practical necessity.
Yeah,
um you have to come off of, and it's not like a betrayal of ethos, it's just kind of like, look, just like having a website, somebody has to go and register the
yeah.
TLD. It's like,
We're dealing with similar
Mhm.
issues with Taya currently because
Yeah,
for us to stay registered as a nonprofit, someone has to put their name on it, right?
yeah,
And we have a few members who are willing to do that, including myself, but some members will not. They're not comfortable, right, being identified. So we have to
right.
kind of like work with that, and it's a bit tricky, legally speaking. But
They
you
have
know,
to get on board, or they need to
yeah,
be other
like for example,
VIP.
Malicious Sheep. She's a good
Yeah,
example, right?
yeah,
No,
she's
no,
very private.
she's very private. We have no idea who she is, but we know she's there all the time, right? And so how do we get the system to like recognize that, right, formally? And
Yeah.
there's not really a good way right now, like we
Well,
we
she
know just
does run a meth lab in her basement, and that she doesn't want anything to lead back to her. So it's
uh
I
no,
love her
no,
so
no
much.
comment,
Does she
no
distribute
comment.
through a
She's
chicken
she's
chain?
by far my favorite person in the ecosystem.
Okay,
I'm
okay,
Wolves,
you're
willing to say
you're
that,
yeah.
wolves on meth.
except for everybody who's here right now,
Ah, that's very
except for
kind.
one
Aside
person,
from
and
I
they
think
know who they are.
Yoshi, Mal's the only person I've played Arc Raiders with from Tezos.
Yes. I'm gonna. When do you guys play? I'm trying to get.
She plays whatever she has bandwidth. I sneak on whenever I have time.
Tomorrow we're probably gonna do a gaming night between me and my brother, but I don't know. It's just well,
Um,
anyway, that's like off topic, but
but yeah, the point, yeah,
yeah,
there's always a need for, there's always going to be, like, for the foreseeable future, and maybe forever, there will always be some kind of off-chain component to everything we all do. um and like, it's just a level of how much of that is. And yeah, over time, more off-chain things could be satisfied by, or off-chain things could be satisfied by on-chain
Hmm.
apparatus. But like we have a lot of those things just have to be built.
I do think it's a
You know?
cultural thing though, like you mentioned earlier. Like we have to be on the same page about how these things are gonna work, you know? And just like with Mao, uh we need like the understanding for people to what's the word? Acknowledge or respect her decision, right? Um so I think that's really the main point. Like uh so we're kind of like trying to balance both things, right? Like, okay, well, like for me and a few other the members were like, okay, we'll do the KYC thing just to keep the organization afloat. But we have other members who are not that, and you know, the they should be okay with that. I think because we're still taking responsibility for it, right? Like as a group. Um,
Yeah. I mean, there are
yeah,
actually even, it does remind me of, there are off-chain like business versions of that. Like I've done a bunch of different ventures, and I've had people in the past who like they'd be co-founders or whatever, and they wouldn't want to sign paperwork under their own name. They only wanted to do it as their LLC. And it's like,
yeah.
what the fuck? And it's like, come on, we're all doing this. Can't you just be like, no, no, only through this thing? It's like, but can't you just do like, it's like, no, it's like, well,
Well, it depends
which
on the
company are,
thing, you know.
well, then
Depends
it's
on the
like, well, you're
thing.
not part of this company. That means you're part of that company. It's like, that's how I'm doing it. It's like, oh God, so like there's always levels of that. So I think, so, but you have to know that stuff kind of up front. I think that's also very important, but, um, yeah. So, but yeah, like gradually these things have to become will become more and more on chain as the demand for it increases. And not just because like for anonymity reasons, but just because it's more composable and accountable that way. When you do stuff on chain in a decentralized way, it's a lot more balanced and more enriching. And like there are endless amounts of benefits that come from doing things in an on-chain composable way. With on-chain origin and
Yeah.
all of that, and so and sometimes that, like with the Coinbase thing that I was like, I'll be posting about it on Agora today. But with the
We're
like,
holding you to
we
that.
couldn't do it. Yes, I'm saying it publicly to hold myself accountable as well. But the like, yeah, it's before if you wanted to get something listed on a centralized exchange or a major centralized exchange, for one thing, you'd have to pay listing fees. You'd have to
Hmm.
get a institutional, like a custodian, like a liquidity provider. That's also expensive as hell, and it's very centralized and off-chain. And you'd have to also you'd have a custodian to manage all of that, and then transfer agents. It was a very off-chain activity. But now it's like, well, this on-chain, this Coinbase plugs into this DEX, and it will use the liquidity from these pools. And you can have some pools that are there that are like just like supplies effectively for that asset. And like it is seamless to the user, because that's really what this was all about, just getting to the user. They don't give a shit if it's on chain or off chain, they just want to be able to use it. And then if you do it on chain that way, it's like, well, not only is it better for us, like people who can get the liquidity in there and manage these tokens because it's more decentralized and all that stuff, but also it's more rewarding because now you have, instead of these big institutions being paid money to go and very centrally paid money so that they can keep the liquidity
Hmm.
there. You're basically renting money from like all these people.
Yeah.
Instead, it's like, well, no, you have all these other small pockets. The people themselves make money for keeping this thing in supply, and they don't
Yeah.
have to do it all by themselves. It's actually better that way. It's shared. Everyone takes a little bit of the load, and they make money that way. That's the way it should be, and that increases participation. It increases entrepreneurship around it, and there's more innovation that goes towards streamlining these things. And you have this liquidity corridor. Like it's so much better in so many ways, and it leads to just compounding manifold layers of value. Like it's so, but it's just, it all came down to this simple thing of like, well, can you source from a decentralized place as opposed to a centralized?
I think
And,
well, it's a UI issue, and this is something I'm thinking of working on this year because I feel like a lot of the back end things that happen on crypto is like not very well represented, in the interfaces that we're using,
Mhm.
like the governance, right, is a good example. It'd be nice to be able to see exactly what bakers are doing, right? When you like their records, their voting records, like um so I would think like privacy will also kind of fit into that bucket, right? Like you shouldn't really have to worry about all these things, right? You should just be able to use your wallet and then it'll anonymize it for you, right? Depending on like what you're doing. Should so I don't know. I did um I was thinking about this recently, but like Coinbase, like there's tons of crypto to fiat on ramps now, right? There's like hundreds of them now. And if they're just gonna stick their thing into a dex, then are they really needed anymore? you know? Been thinking
Well,
about
yeah,
that.
because that's the thing. They're not like the value of them was never like the off-chain stuff they do. Their value is the user experience and
Yeah.
making a very clean, convenient interface for these new coming users. And so now they can focus on that and do a better job at that because they're not weighed down and us operator vendors are not weighed down by all this off-chain shit that shouldn't have
Yeah,
mattered
but
ever anyway.
they're
So
they're hoarding a lot of cash right now, right? Like a lot of people are putting money into these exchanges and they have a lot of money and I don't think they're going to let that go quite easily. But in
well,
theory,
that's just because
yeah.
well, it comes from that. But like, you could hold stuff, like there could be decentralized. It could all be done in an on-chain way, in which you ultimately
Yeah,
have
yeah, yeah,
access to
that's
your
what I
cash,
yeah,
and
that's
then
my
you get
point. Yeah.
yeah. So they're transitioning to that gradually. I mean, I think everyone effectively is. Whether
Right.
anyone's
Right.
intending to do that or not, that's just the way the wind will blow. But in like the way to get things up and running so that you could have these things initially, everything is always centralized first. If it like if you prioritize speed of getting some tool out
Right.
for people, the centralized way is always the
But they do have
fastest.
a lot of
But
competition, Like they could be replaced by a
yeah,
well-designed wallet like entirely, I think. And
But
so
they
I don't
will
well,
still
they're,
be
they're
needed. They will still be needed for an on
for
ramp,
some
right?
things. Yeah, yeah, for some
Yeah,
things.
for
I feel
that.
like they're going after everybody else now. Like the new base app, like they're trying to have this everything wallet, like because that's integrated with their own blockchain. Um, People are signing up.
Yeah.
I haven't used it yet. I have it, but I haven't used it.
I don't
Um,
know. I don't see that going anywhere,
yeah,
like personally. But I think
a
they're
lot
in
of people,
trouble. Things are
Coinbase
changing. Yeah.
when they started, even since, especially when they started, they came into I think 2013, maybe earlier than that, that they launched, and they like it was in a world where everybody in crypto were the originalist kind of
Mm-hmm.
Bitcoin tinfoil hat libertarian, like fuck all centralized everything,
Yeah.
and they came in saying, well, we're going to do this fiat on ramp. And then all those people who had been saying for, they want to get easier ways for people to get into Bitcoin are like, fuck you, that's centralized. It's like, well, how else do you expect it to be done? But
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
very people, those
I
people
mean,
who were
those are
so
the hardcore,
critical, but the people who were so critical of Bitcoin, they were the only people in blockchain at the time, that didn't matter because then Coinbase knew it didn't matter. And those are the same people who, when their friends or family would say, yeah, how do I get Bitcoin? They'd think about the weird way in which they got Bitcoin, the fact that they don't have the time or inclination to,
You barter
nor
it
does
for
their
a
person to do it.
pizza.
Yeah, like to get their
If that was
friend
the
to do
only
it.
way. Yeah.
They would say, just go on Coinbase. The same people who were criticizing it were the same people who were recommending
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And that's, there were
But
that's like
they
gonna be
did
huge.
serve an important purpose at the time, and I do think they helped the ecosystem to grow as a whole. But now there's so much competition, you know.
They survived.
Yeah.
They're also supported by the man.
Oh,
And
yeah,
if
yeah,
you know who the
exactly.
man is, but But like, I'm kidding, not kidding though, because there definitely are a lot of special privileges they've had to do things that everybody else got shut down, but for whatever reason they were fine. And having the right VC
They're one
venture
of the more
capitalists.
reasonable players in the space, right?
Yeah,
Like,
but
got
like,
to
I mean,
give them
they
credit for that.
always, they had the right people. Like they got the Andreessen Horowitz backing at the exact right time. Not just them, others, but that was, they were able to get the kind of, like, the kinds of people that were very helpful for a lot of those Web 2 companies, to like, that would otherwise face a whole ton of regulatory shit and get shut down, that protected their ventures. That's who
Mhm.
they had on board, and that's what elevated them to the next stage of that, and the next stage of that, and the next stage of that. Whereas,
Okay.
So
because I mean, the interface, like, it's not hard to replicate in theory. I mean, all the stuff is there. You just got to make it. I'm sure people can make much nicer interfaces, like, that are a little bit prettier and whatever else. But it's like, why don't we see more of those? Well, same reason why there wasn't a competitor to PayPal in all those years. Like, it,
it
it
comes
just,
with time, though. It comes with time. I mean,
oh, if
wait,
it's,
Whoa.
Blanks, what the hell? Anyway,
Yeah.
it was a good time. It was,
All I'm saying is that times are changing, and if they don't adapt quick enough, they
yeah.
might be saying, yeah, you could see them like lag behind, and I think it's already happening.
Guys, I
Uh,
want to
well,
jump in real
I
quick
think,
to pause and say that we've been going for an hour and a half. This conversation, first of all, is great. Blanks, bro. They can't even hear me.
once people start
We
using
will
those
go
sound
for
effects, they don't stop.
that is
we
true.
will go for another 10 minutes or so, but then we will have to wrap up. So I just wanted to make a quick, last call for anybody that wants to jump in and share what they have been doing, or maybe they will have some comments from the conversation. Yeah. Otherwise, we will be wrapping up anyway in 10 minutes or so.
I do have one thing to announce. Oh, sorry. I'll go ahead.
Go for it, Ryan.
Oh, so in the last couple of weeks, I started a podcast, and yeah, I was like experimenting for a little while, but I think I found a pretty good rhythm going. And the idea was, you'll see me posting about it, because I'm trying to do like 3 or 4 of them a week. I figured out how to do it pretty quickly. But if anyone here is interested in doing a co-host, or if there's a topic that they really feel strongly about, and you want to go a deep dive into it, like let's talk about it for an hour, right, or something like that. That's kind of the theme of I'm hoping it'll be. So I already did one with Fendo, who's down there as well. And yeah, so basically the theme is unusual, interesting, kind of philosophical takes on crypto, which is something yeah, I'm interested right now. So it can be any topic whatsoever. The weirder the better. It just needs to like loosely relate to the Web3 thing somehow. But if anyone's interested in doing a collab, let me know, and just DM me, and I'll be doing lots of this, and like having someone on as a guest is like no big deal. Oh, that's it.
Cool.
I
I want.
saw Retro requesting. I approved, but I
Oh.
don't see him coming. Oh, there he is. Okay, sorry, Retro. Before we get to you, I think Lex wants to jump in.
Yeah, that's actually ironically perfect. I was gonna say what's up to Retro, and I was gonna tell him to, when he gets a chance, to rewind the tape, because we were all talking about different subjects, really dope topics, and one of them was actually creating kind of like a swap for assets, a locker, escrow, so many different decks, so many different words and terms, things that have been done and in the past, and evidently there was a demand, there wasn't demand, but I used your assets as an example. I have a handful of your assets that I feel like I would like to trade with other collectors that have your assets well, and to do something or another to trade. And yeah, so I think you're on stage now, and we can. I know we're wrapping up, but I just want to throw that up at you.
Hey, Retro, what's up, man? How are you?
Hey everyone. Yeah, what's up? I hope everyone's doing well. It is Happy New Year, right? We haven't spoke before this. I'm trying to keep up. Happy New Year.
Yes, very happy. Happy,
Yeah,
joy,
yeah,
joy.
it was, yeah, it is,
Happy
it is.
New Year.
You know, when you get to that stage where you think you've said it to people too many times. Yeah, I will rewind the tape for sure. I'm not sure. I was only listening about the privacy coins because that's, yeah, that's a really interesting topic. But yeah, I will listen back about the other thing, and just feel free to DM me so I can maybe learn a bit more about what you're talking about. What I wanted to share something as well, which is if anyone's following Zero Unbound, they're in that handles in the chat right now as well. We have pulled together 3 collectors to collect from artists who have been minting fully on chain with Zero Contract and Zero Unbound. Those 3 collectors are Tuna Kuna, those I'm sure everyone knows Tuna Kuna, Art Monochrome or Anna, and Absa Deity. So the 3 of them have come together, and we've used our Tezos CRP funds, Zero Unbound one, some funds for that, and we're just second time now we're doling that out to collectors to encourage them to come over to Zero Contract and collect some art over there. So if you're an artist and you haven't minted, or if you've already minted stuff fully on chain, then make sure you list it on Zero Unbound. If you haven't minted fully on chain on Tezos yet, then go and check out Zero Unbound. It's a really easy process. There's a lot of, like, there's a bit of a learning curve, but there's a tutorial, so feel free to hit me up if you need some help. And yeah, get minting, get listing, and those collectors will be collecting, I believe, this week. So they haven't got a lot of money. It's a small amount each, but I think it's just worth sharing your work with them. There's a pin post on the Zero Unbound page, so go ahead and just make sure you share your link in there as well once you've done.
It's
That's my stick. That's my stick now. I'm done.
Yeah, it's pinned here as well. Just to mention that.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Absolutely, man. Thank you. Blanks. How are you, my
Yeah.
man?
What's up, brother?
All good. Playing with a soundboard.
No, I don't play with the soundboard. I don't know what you're talking about.
Sound like that was a porn sound.
I don't know what you're talking about, and I don't know why your head went there. That's weird.
Oh yeah.
Slow clap for you.
Okay.
Anyway.
We're getting into that.
Way off topic. Well, folks, hey, I want to thank you all for joining us today. Our first show back in 2026. It was a blast hearing from you. If you didn't make it this time, well, we'll have to have you back up here again and chat soon. This month should be great. This year should be amazing for Tezos. I don't know if you have your ear to the ground, but some new announcements and some stuff should be filtering out soon. We are excited. But for now, I think we're going to start winding it down here. So I want to say thanks again to everyone who came up and everyone who spent some time listening in tonight. These community calls work because people show up and shape them. We'll be back next Tuesday, so until then, stay curious, stay connected, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for joining.
And watch for my Agora post. And if I don't post it, you have the right to give me shit publicly. I so correct this.